Balake, where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Aaron.
Aaron is right here. Thanks for joining me, everyone. It is day one of the Danny Masterson criminal trial. As I said, I'll be covering the trial live for SPTV. Right now, today's day one of jury selection. Opening arguments will occur next Monday, and that is when I will actually physically be in Los Angeles attending the trial live. But I do still have some updates from you. Now, we don't have any updates from the pool reporter yet because court only started 20 minutes ago, but that doesn't mean I don't have some updates for you. I have a lot of updates for you, so let's get started. First of all, Danny Masterson showed up an hour early to court at about 8 a.m., 8:01 a.m., notably without his wife. We don't have to read too much into that. Maybe she was just tired or who knows what's going on. The only reason it's worth noting at all is he has always shown up with his wife previously, even during jury selection. So anyway, just an observation, just something to note. Anyway, we won't read too much into it. Just wanted to report it for the record. Also, there's something interesting to report. Danny Masterson's, the co-counsel of Danny Masterson's legal team, Sean Hawley, is in the building. Now, that might not seem to be an item newsworthy enough to specifically comment on, but here's what's crazy. Sean Hawley did not show up. Sean Hawley is a woman, by the way, did not show up even once for the entire 4 weeks of the first criminal trial. Sean Hawley's client, Danny Masterson, might be fighting for his life. You know, he's facing 45 years to life in prison if convicted on all 3 counts that he's charged with. But Sean Hawley has another much more famous client named Trevor Bauer, the Major League Baseball superstar pitcher for the Dodgers, who's embroiled in his own scandal, if you will. I always thought it was quite a bit of a slap in the face for Sean Hawley, who you know has got to be making big bucks to represent Danny Masterson. You know Danny Masterson's probably paying top dollar for Philip Cohen and Sean Hawley. And she's like, bro, I know you're fighting for your life here, but my other boy, Trevor, he's got a lot of money on the line. We're talking tens, hundreds of millions of dollars, perhaps his entire career. Now, I know you could be facing life in prison, and that's tough. I feel for you, buddy. But I'm going to have to jump. I'm going to have to handle these arbitration, disagreements, the contract disagreements, whatever's going on in Trevor land. Holler if you need me. Philip's going to hold you down in the meantime. I have to assume that since the defense team right now, since Masterson's defense team, honestly looks horribly ill-prepared for this second trial, particularly on the subject of Scientology, I have to assume Sean Hawley at least decided to show up to work this time, considering they are at a pretty, to me, obvious disadvantage going into this second trial. Sorry, Danny. I wish we'd been better prepared, but at least I'm going to show up for work this time. So that's why I'm telling you, Sean Hawley is in the building. Third item to update everybody on. It looks right now that even if jury selection finishes on Thursday, that opening arguments will not occur on Friday. Opening arguments will occur Monday, the 24th, regardless of whether jury selection finishes on Thursday. That's great news, because that's what I was assuming when I booked my travel. I was not planning on showing up to court until the 24th. I was actually assuming opening arguments might not even occur until the 25th. So, but it's good to know that opening arguments won't occur without me. So for any of you guys out there who are planning on showing up to court, please do. By the way, former Sea Org members, former staff members, former Scientologists, even if you're just a fan of the channel and you want to come and show some support to the Jane Does, make your arrangements to come opening arguments on the 24th of Monday. Okay, second item to report. And this is, anyway, here's the item. During the jury selection process, it looks as if the prosecution will not be allowed to ask any potential jurors whether they are Scientologists, whether they have any history with Scientology, or whether they have been sent by Scientology. Now, to some experts, you might be going, yeah, no shit, dummy. You're not allowed to ask people about their religion. I get it. But considering what happened in the first trial, with Earl Batiste and him lying his way onto the jury, and his daughter having been having questionable ties to the whole Scientology stuff, and Earl then working behind the scenes to help the defense team get the charges against Danny thrown out before the retrial could even be announced or occur or anything like that. My only point here really is that the prosecution has an uphill battle, an uphill climb to prevent the jury from being infiltrated. In that same train of thought, the potential jurors, it is impossible to prevent Scientology from finding out the identities of the jurors. The parking for the jurors is not protected parking. The jurors have to walk several blocks from the courthouse to where juror parking is. People outside of the courthouse may not know who the jurors are, but anyone who shows up to court does. Scientology's attorneys show up to court. Scientology's PIs show up to court. There is absolutely nothing preventing Scientology's attorneys and PIs from following the jurors back to their cars, getting their license plates, running their plates, following them home. Even on a background search, you can actually find out everyone who lives in the address that you live in. There's just absolutely nothing preventing Scientology from finding out the identities of the jurors and therefore opening the door to potentially doing anything possible to apply pressure to the jurors or intimidate the jurors. I'm not saying that happened in the last trial. I'm not saying it's going to happen in this trial. I'm just calling it out as a risk factor that has not been accounted for and has not been mitigated. And I just think it's a little troubling. So, yeah. Okay. The last update I want to give for you is exactly how this process is going to play out today and for the rest of the week. So you basically have, for the jury selection process, the court calls in batches of jurors of about 60 jurors at a time. There's going to be a batch 1 today, batch 2 tomorrow, batch 3 Wednesday. So this morning's process is going to be extremely fast. They basically call in the first batch of jurors and they go, here's the questionnaire, fill out the questionnaires, turn them in, come back tomorrow. And then the same process repeats. Tuesday morning, batch 2 will be called in. Let me take a step back. So they tell batch 1, here's the survey, fill it out, come back tomorrow. They come back tomorrow. And then the judge alone, not the prosecution or the defense, the judge addresses the batch 1 of the jurors and tries and whittles out people who are claiming hardships. So that's the only screening process that's occurring up front is hardships. Who can't serve on a jury if the trial, if you get picked for the jury and the trial is going to last about approximately 4 weeks, who simply cannot do that. Okay. They go through the hardships with batch 1, dismiss anyone who has hardships. They bring in batch 2. They say, here's the survey, fill it out, turn it in, come back tomorrow morning. They repeat that exact same process on the next morning. So weeding out hardships for the previous batch and having the next batch fill out the survey. Now on Wednesday, that will be the third batch. They only do this with 3 batches. So on Wednesday, they will weed out the hardships for batch 2, get all the surveys turned in for batch 3, weed out the hardships for batch 3. Now on Wednesday, you have you've weeded out all the hardships. You have left between 80 to 100 potential jurors. So not all of these jurors get interviewed. All they need is 12 jurors and 4 alternates. So they take the jury box, they fill up the jury box with the first, just like it's almost like one of these Price is Right games. Like you got all the open slots, fill in the slots, and then they start interviewing and weeding out people based on specific challenges to these jurors based on their responses to the jury questionnaire. Now, it turns out, to the best of my understanding, and I'm no legal expert, guys, I grew up in a cult, but to the best of my understanding, you cannot dismiss a juror for absolutely no cause. You actually have to explain why you want to dismiss this juror, and the judge has to basically go, okay, thumbs up, I agree. You're allowed to dismiss them for that reason. This is why the process, even though the prosecution has requested more time than usual for this process to prevent the mistake that occurred in the first trial, even though they've requested more time, it is totally possible if not even likely, that this process could finish up by Thursday. Because once, because you got those 12 juror spots and the 4 alternates. If you dismiss 2 jurors, 2 more potential jurors come in, and now you've got to go through this process again. It's not like you're constantly re-interviewing a new batch of 16 people. You're only performing this process newly on whatever new jurors have been brought in to replace the ones that have been dismissed. And again, this is where they're going through the questions of, they're asking group questions to everybody. I don't want to go through examples, but there's certain questions where they're just asking everyone, the entire group at the same time to see how everyone responds. And then there's examples where they're actually asking jurors targeted questions based on their specific personal responses to that juror questionnaire. So, okay, so that's that. I'm just looking at my notes here. Yeah, guys, that's the update. And the truth is, there may not even be much more of an update to give later in the day. That's why I just wanted to do it now, because that's all that's happening this morning, guys. Neither the prosecution nor the defense have filed any motions that are expected to be heard or ruled on this morning. It really should be, I'll say should, because who knows, maybe something crazy is going to happen. It really should be batch number 1 showing up, the judge saying, here's your questionnaires, fill them out, turn them in. They turn them all in. She says, great. See you tomorrow morning. There really shouldn't be anything much more exciting than that happening, but we'll probably find out some more details of like what exactly is Sean Hawley doing in the building. I can't tell you how funny it's going to be to me if Sean Hawley is in the building just to ask to be dismissed from this case and to represent somebody else. I mean, what a slap in the face to Masterson that would be, but I'm guessing that's not what's happening. Okay, guys, I've been ignoring the chat. So before I wrap up, this was just going to be a short little update. Let me make sure I'm not missing any super chats, and we'll call it a day because there's so much more to discuss today. Not about this case, but about a bunch of other things. So let's see. Lori plays, wish I could be there as well. I'd follow the ladies to the bathroom just to protect their backs. You know, it's really funny you even mentioned that, because this is one of the ways that Masterson and his minions were able to spy on, harass, and intimidate the Jane Does in the case, was by going into the bathroom before the court took recess or breaks and actually hiding in the stalls. I'm not even making this up. Hiding in the stalls, like pulling up their feet, standing on the toilet so that looked like they weren't in there, to eavesdrop on conversations that were being had by the Jane Does in the bathrooms. And I'm talking about members of Masterson's family. I'm talking about people the Jane Does like know. It's absolutely insane. So, you know, accompanying the Jane Does to the bathroom, running and doing a little security check, checking the stalls. Well, I guess you can't. Peeking under the stalls would be a little pervy, so you don't want to do that. But something like what you're talking about is like exactly what is actually needed. So, okay. L. Nelson, jury tampering would not exactly be in their favor. Well, none of the crimes that Scientology commits, you know, in a macro sense are really in their favor, but they will commit them anyway. And, you know, so I get what you're saying, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't do it. Thank you for the super chat, though. All right, Ryan, I'm totally gonna donate if you buy and wear a Groucho Marx nose and glasses as much as possible during the court visit. Well, Ryan, here's the thing. I'm not just visiting the court. I'm actually one of the approved members of the press with a press pass to attend the court as a journalist. So I'm not sure the judge would look kindly on me wearing a Groucho Marx nose and glasses. I'm also not sure it would even be permitted, even if I was just an observer. But yeah, thanks for the super chat. All right, everybody, let me figure out how to hide this up. A lot of SPs in here. I'm trying to figure out how to hide the comments. Okay, good. That's all I have on this for now. If there is anything more interesting, any additional interesting details to report later, you know I will. Otherwise, stay tuned, guys. Hey, if you guys are watching live or you're watching the replay, please hit that like button. It does actually seem to help. If you're not subscribed, you definitely want to hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell even. Go absolutely crazy, because there is so much more to come. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Thank you to everybody who watches until the very end, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click